Welcome everybody to Vizlib Actions, where we are talking about taking control of your apps and much, much more. So just a quick recap. We've set up these 15-minute snackables. We've done it at lunchtime. We've done it at, it's 3 o'clock in London, time for tea and biscuits. So these quick snackable sessions that we've handpicked and hand-invited our Vizlib customers. And that's via the fantastic customer success teams. So coming in from Israel is Liron. I'm here from London. I've put on my Make Your Data Talk t-shirt just for the occasion. We're geared up. We know these have been hugely successful as these little chunk size and bite size sessions. A couple of things about today. We are recording. We will send you out the recording. The other thing is, and I always say this, we would invite questions. The most important people on the call today actually isn't Liron, dare I say it, it's you, the people that are joining. And I like to give Liron a hard time. So please think about difficult questions you really want answered, and we'll make sure we put those to Liron. But I think, Liron, we've got 15 minutes, probably a little bit left now. Over to you, sir.
Okay, so we are going to focus on Vizlib Action in this webinar. Basically, actions allow you to create a more guided analytics, adding some external context, some navigation into your apps, more control of what users are doing. And what we are going to go is cover the different type of actions. We are not going to demo any action, all the actions we offer with Vizlib Actions, just some of them. And yeah, let's start. So most basic action is actually making a selection. I would say that for me, when I work as Qlik developer, I try to limit the number of actions that make selection to the user without him understand it, because he then might not get the right context of the data he looks for. But still, there are a lot of actions, and when actions come valuable is, for example, allowing user to apply some more advanced selection that the Qlik engine allow you to do. For example, I have here a slider that allow me to set a threshold of the amount of sales, and according to this threshold, I'm going to select the countries that are meeting this threshold. So, for example, something like, okay, I want only countries that have sales above 87, and you can see the chart only show what happened, that we selected those 7 countries, and behind the scene we use in the action, we are going to jump a lot between edit and display mode. So we have here our slider, and this is one of the objects that have actions that run after you update the slider. We are basically doing a selection in the field, and basically we use a very smart selection that say in the field country, apply this rule that only countries that there's some sales is above these variables that we control should be displayed. If we take it a little bit higher, we expect 4 countries, and yeah, we get the 4 countries. So this is example of one action that regular user probably aren't going to get into their app and start writing those expressions, how to run selection. So using an action for this type of selection is very powerful. Another example is on calendar. A lot of time inside our app, we have multiple date fields. While a lot of time we only want to make selection in one of them, like order date or actual shipment date, and we can come inside the calendar. Say for the calendar, just a second. Something that I have an easier path forward. So we can come into a calendar and make a selection. I can see what I'm selecting and apply the selection. But it was only applied for one date field. But what if my question is, what happened this year, year to date, and I want to focus on all type of activities, be it the day the order date was registered, or the date the order was shipped, or the day the order was planned to be shipped. So here you can use an action. So here I have a calendar that actually is showing all the available date from all different dates type in our app. And when I click year to date and approve it, you will see here that we select all order date in and actual shipment date and planned ship date. So basically, by one action that we run in the calendar, we apply a selection on all different dates and can look at all the activity year to date on all different phases of our business and everything. So this is another example where I do think running actions on running selection by actions make a lot of sense and make it life easier for your users. This is the list, of course, but I'm not going to go over it now, but most common. Export action, actually we have some unique actions for you that Qlik doesn't offer. One of the one that I really like is basically we allow you to export custom data without the need for a table. So for example, if I click now, I'm going to export 2,000 rows and I selected it to be exported as CSV, and I will have all dimensions and measures, everything exported. But you can give your user the control and they say, okay, I only want category name and country and only sales. So what I'm going to get is only 137 rows. Why this is valuable? One, you can export to CSV. This means you have no limit in the number of rows. I like Excel, and the very, very powerful thing is you don't need to create a table in the front end and run the calculation and build the table. Everything only happens in the backend via API. So it saves you time and the user can basically export large amount of data and big tables and don't wait for the table to render on the front end and then wait. Another thing, it's one click export. We also have allow, instead of using the built-in export where you need to do download data, image, PDF, if you want, you can do it by clicking on a button. The advantage is that you can also define the name of the object. If I do it from here and do regular data, what I'll get is something. So, and same thing goes to images and everything. So export action just make it easier for the user to export data. It's a one-click experience. And also if you want to export the whole dashboard, once again, only you can put it inside our sheet menu as a custom button and the user can export the data easily. Navigation actions. So for me, there are two types of navigations. In-app, so you can go to the previous sheet, next sheet, go to home, and basically create a much more controlled environment for the user. Let's say that I come here and I say, you know what, actually, I don't want the user to be able to navigate using free navigation. I'm going to control whatever, whenever the user, where the user is going to navigate. So basically, the only way the user can now navigate from this screen is by you guiding him through the navigation process. Other navigation for me can be moving to another app. So consider I select some countries and I now want to go to another app, an app about COVID, and look at the same countries. So you see it's basically open the other app with the same countries. I basically giving your user a seamless experience where they're navigating between different apps. Very easy to implement. You don't need to do any complex expression or something. You just open up. You say you want to open a Qlik app. You select one of the app in the server if you want to define a specific sheet, and you can decide if you want to pass the selection or not. So this is another example, and of course opening a URL. So even in a table you can have an action. Okay, I see that. What is Lund? Yeah, Lund is a country, his city in Sweden. I can navigate, and of course I can navigate to some more meaningful destination. But the idea is that you can run the actions on different places in our object. So action isn't limited just for button. And the last bit of action, now exporting, what I tend to do. So yeah, it was broken, and let me fix it fast. For some reason. The last bit of action are more custom action, different capability. One is creating a bookmark, applying a bookmark, and basically creating a bookmark is once again a one-click create bookmark. You can control the name, and the user doesn't need to go here, say create the bookmark, etc. And same go to applying a bookmark. You can play with it. So if I make some selections and I then create a bookmark, I will have a bookmark. I can basically edit only the date, so probably smarter to include also the time when the bookmark was created. But if I want to apply the bookmark, I can apply the bookmark also. Another thing that I love is setting variables and think, for example, on pivot table. I'm looking at my pivot table. I'm interested to understand why here we didn't meet the budget, and let's see if I can learn a little bit more. So I'm actually interested in what happened in Paris. So I can click here, and what happened is that I made a selection on the category, the sales office, and the year. And I basically, once I click on the pivot table, an action of updating a variable was run, and now I see the underlying data behind the cell I wanted to look at. So what contributed to the result we saw in the pivot table? And by using some other actions, I can allow the user to go directly back or clear everything and go back. So once again, actions that navigate or drill through the data, very powerful when you have a pivot table. A lot of time you want to look at the underlying data, understand more details about the data, that it's easier to look in a regular table or a chart. So basically you can run also action from the pivot table. And we have reload app, very easy. Even if you want to run partial reload, let's assume you have a very big app and only one table is updated. So you just need to build your script to support partial reload, but you won't find a way to run it from the UI, the easy UI. So basically what we are allowing you is running a partial reload if needed. Last two bits of actions, API integration. Let's start a journey with this data. I want to get to one record. So this is basically a flow of my runnings by kilometer and pace. So let's look at this pace for the third phase, and let's see. Now, I only have some information about this activity, but when I will click this button, I'm going to run an API call into Strava, and it's automatically saved into a variable for me. And I can actually see, let's look for, and I can, and it's saved in a variable. Yeah, I need to work a little bit on it. But yeah, now I basically got an empty result. Maybe my, oh yeah, so here it is. So basically a lot of course I need to maybe look at only parts of the data, parse it a little bit, but basically I got all the information about this run, each lap, everything that I can get out of this activity. And I did it by an API call that is done here. Yeah. So, and actually we have a wizard, so very much like Postman, if you ever made a, so you can define your parameters, whatever authorization you need to run, if you need to add a body, and you can actually also do post and put actions. So you basically can, if you want it to be really powerful, you can update your source system by just clicking, and so you can see something and then act on your any cloud system that support API calls. You can update things, fetch external data, more context. And yeah, last one is prompt, and just a message as it says, thank you for this demo. I think now we will move into the questions, right?
The questions, yeah. Yeah, I see a few of those coming through. First of all, Liron, that was really cool because we looked at, and you mentioned this, right? You set the scene. We were looking at simple actions, unique, guided. I think that's really nice. And there was some feedback coming through about how it enables guided for users. And then I love that with the supercharging with context. So that's very, very cool. Yeah. Liron, I mean, we're both looking at the questions. Are there any ones that you, I'll jump to a couple. Are there any that you want to pick out and have a look at there and discuss?
Just a second. Okay, let's look at the question. Extension suggestion. We use conditional so to limit the use of certain. Is there a better way to limit certain users' view? So it's not directly about action. It's more about, I assume, section access. So if you do a section access, then the user only see the data he needs. And so if you just want to hide some charts, that I assume it's okay. Or you assign every user a flag on which screen, dashboard, sheet he needs to see, and then you activate on that. Within sheet menu, you can run, okay, this is what you do. Okay. But once again, it's important to understand, even in sheet menu, you can basically run most of the actions, not everything. There are some that are unique for the table, but yeah, still most of them you can also do it from sheet menu.
Yeah. There's another one in, and I've had the pleasure of meeting Melissa. I won't say second names, but good to see your question. Liron, I'll read this one out for you. If you are going to be presenting the Open Qlik app.
Yeah, so we showed it. I would say we are using quite limited Qlik API. So if you will try to pass 200 values in one field or a lot of fields with a lot of selection, it might take time, or you might get to a too long URL that the system is going to break. So it needs to be designed and hopefully can pick up only the important fields to pass the selections. Maybe an improvement from our side, but yeah, we are a little bit limited in opening a Qlik app with selection by what Qlik is offering us.
Yeah. There's another question in, and here's the thing: we'll always take tricky questions as well as the questions that, for example, I've had in, which is loving and enjoying using library and customer feedback.
Demo app, yeah, it will be shared, no problem. No.
So, Liron, there was a question in, and this is from Stefan. Again, I'm not going to use company or second names, but really nice positive feedback on library. But the question was, so this is in the other one, so this is in the chat. Within this organization, they're seeing some issues around Zoom. And I'm just going to have a look. Very poor or unusual.
So I think just a second, I think exporting data is an interesting one. So basically what we did, you can define the list of fields and the list of measures you want to export. So as you see, you can say, basically what you need to send for us is the list of fields as a list. same go to the list of expressions, and then basically you can control what data is exported. If you want to limit which rows are exported, then this is another story. It's not the actions that are going to do it. You can apply a selection or something, or the user, OS user, and then run the export. So of course you are able to run more than one action. So let's assume I only want to export things that are related to a certain country. I can make a selection in the field and then export the data. So maybe a way to control it. So, and yeah, if you made a selection in the app, of course, then it's also going to be part of what you are going to export. So if I'll select here something, I don't know, you can see that the number of rows that I'm going to export is immediately adjusted to selection.
Yeah. I think at that time, so we've been very careful to kind of keep the snackable sessions to make sure they don't overrun, because this is why people join them. So we're kind of 21 minutes past. Again, Matt, I don't think actually we did fully answer that question. We're going to come back to you. And the same, that's the key thing with anyone that's asked a question here, we're scraping these and we're going to go back to you with if it was a suggestion, we'll take it on board. So Liron as that product manager, myself, product marketing, we look at these feedback and suggestions back into roadmap, and we'll pick up on these questions as well. So as I said, I think when we started, the most important people that joined today were you. Yeah. You are the star on the show. So thank you again. It's just great to see the amount of people that have joined. Trust you have wherever you are in the world a lovely rest of your day. Yeah. And then as I say, anyone that we haven't got to answer the questions, we'll make sure we get back and do that today.
Yeah. Thank you, everyone.